friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon and welcome to week 3 of George Formby Techniques. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down his two unique approaches to playing 8th note triplets, the thumb roll and the shake. Let's dive right in. So both of these techniques are actually things that are quite common in the ukulele world. It's just how he applied them that is unique. Let's start out with the thumb roll. These are both 3-stroke techniques, and you might be familiar with this one. This is the standard triple that most uke players play. You'll come down first with your index finger, then followed by the pad of your thumb, and up with the pad of your index finger. Now the thing to keep in mind with this, so though it's a 3-stroke pattern, our wrist is really doing the same motion that we are doing with a down up strum the entire time. So this is our down up strum, and if I add in a triplet, it's all right there in the same wrist motion. And this takes a little bit of time to build up because using this motion is not necessarily natural, but once you have it fluid, it's very easy to apply this anywhere. So what I like to do with my students is teach them initially as a waltz or a 3-beat measure. So we can do this with the chords to our Sergeant Major. We'll play 3 strokes per bar. 2 bars of F, 2 bars of G minor, 3 bars of C, and then 1 bar of F. So it'll sound a little bit something like this. Let's try that together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One thing to keep in mind with this technique as we speed it up is the plane of motion that you are using on your uke. We want to keep it as small as possible. We don't want to be doing these huge exaggerated motions, but the thumb roll triple should really look like this. It's all right here, contained in the space of the strings. No exaggeration, which will bring you trouble as we begin to build the speed up. So now let's talk about the rhythm itself. This is used as an 8th note triplet, or 3 notes evenly subdivided into the space of 1 beat. So if we just clap out this rhythm with an 8th note triplet on beat 1 of a measure, it will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Triplet 2, 3, 4. Triplet 2, 3, 4. Now let's just try that together, just clapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. Triplet 2, 3, 4. Triplet 2, 3, 4. Good, now if we pick up our uke, and we can just mute the strings, and let's do the technique, this same rhythmic pattern that we were just clapping, but we're now going to play it on the instrument. So it'll sound like this. Let's try that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, now we can apply this to the first few bars of our Sergeant Major. So we'll start on an F major chord and just have 8 down strums. And then as we switch to the G minor chord, we will have this triplet rhythm strum through the bar and then eventually resolve to a C. So this pattern will sound like this. Let's try that much together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you recall from last week, really the fun part of Formby's playing is the split stroke patterns that give it this syncopated feel. So while it may be easy to just strum quarter notes and throw a triplet in there, when we do it over a straight 8th rhythm, that's when it really gets tough. So if we look at the first few bars of this, we're going to need to apply our split stroke that we were playing last week for the first 2 bars, and then our triple. So it's going to sound a little bit something like this. Let's try this one together. 1, 2, 3, 4. The the syncopation preceding the thumb roll is what makes it quite tough in context. Again, George Formby loved to play with the concept of 2 against 3, and that's again what he is doing here. We're coming from this straight 8th pattern, and then we're throwing an 8th note triplet over top of it out of nowhere. So it should seem a little bit awkward to play. If you're having trouble with these rhythms, just stop for a moment, put your instrument down, and clap through the rhythms. Until the rhythms are in your head, you're not going to be able to apply it effectively to the instrument. So now on to his second unique way of playing the triple stroke that we call the shake. Now this is used exclusively in the split stroke pattern. If you recall the split stroke pattern, what makes it unique is the double downstroke, and the shake can be used to replace the double downstroke at any time. But what it's going to do is leave us in a position where we will now be playing an upstroke after the triplet as opposed to a downstroke. Conceptually, this is actually very easy. The shake is this: down, up, down. That's it. But the problem is when we get this up to speed, it's not so easy, and it's leaving us in a bit off kilter and not really where we want our hand to be. We'll end up on a downbeat, but with an upstrum in the middle of a split stroke pattern. So let's just first try to do this as an 8th note triplet, leaving the split stroke out of it. So what I'm going to do is just take a little section from our Sergeant Major. So this will be 3 bars of C, and on the second bar, we're going to put that 8th note triplet shake on beat 2, which is going to leave us with an upstroke for beat 3. Listen to it. Let's try that little exercise together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we need to add our split stroke into it, which again is what's going to make this very tough. So I'm just going to play the second bar of the exercise for you with our split stroke. So it'll be down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up as the pattern. So it's a little bit awkward, and it's going to sound like this very, very slowly. So you can see now how it's replacing the double downstroke in our pattern. Now here it is with a standard split stroke bar before it. So that leaves us into our split stroke by putting an 8th note triplet preceding it. So let's try this little section together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep practicing this little 4-bar section until it's like riding a bicycle for you. Luckily, Formby tended to put the shakes on beat 2. It's very common, but it would almost always be the beginning of a split stroke pattern. So you can practice this really on any beat going into a further split stroke pattern. Now to complicate things further, if you recall the solo we were working on last week, all of the C major bars, or nearly all of them, had finger lifts in them as well. So now we need to apply those finger lifts to the shake. And this is really happening the same as he did on the double downstroke. If you recall, all of our accented beats were C major and all of the off beats were C 7th. And this is the same exact idea. So when we have our shake, the first 2 notes of the triplet are going to be a C 7th, and then as we come down for that accented beat on the 3rd note of the triplet, we're going to put down our ring finger and play a C major chord. So very slowly, it'll be like this. And what this is doing is furthering our syncopation even more. We're creating these notes that do not fall directly on the beat. Let me play just this isolated measure for you very slowly. And then all we have to do after that is add in the split strokes around it, and we really have the majority of this pattern that repeats itself throughout the solo. So let's try that little 4-bar section now with the finger lifts in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you're comfortable with these exercises, let's now take a look at the etude that we were working on last week and add the shake and the thumb roll in the applicable portions. 1, 2, 3. I know that these exercises are very tough, but we're near the end. These are the vast majority of the special techniques that George Formby utilized. Next week, we're just going to break down some special little devices that he used throughout his pieces. I'll see y'all there.